Okay, we're live. Thank you for joining us today, Mel. If you wouldn't mind giving us a quick explanation on a bit of your background, who you are, what are you doing, that would be great.
Hi, so I'm Mel. I'm an OKR expert. So I worked a lot with OKRs in the past. I've done some work at several tech companies in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And for the rest, I live in Amsterdam, and I'm excited to talk to you guys today about what OKRs are and how to get excited about them in your business.
Awesome, thank you. And for those who are listening and have never met me before, my name is Dash and I'm a marketing manager here at Impraise, and I've got the pleasure today of deep diving with Mel on some of the nitty-gritty details on OKRs. So just to kick it off, a very high-level conversation, what is OKRs for the companies who've never heard of it before? What is it?
Yes, OKR stands for Objective and Key Result. So the objective is always like an inspirational goal that you have, very ambitious usually as well. It's kind of like a moonshot. And then you have the key results that actually track progress towards that objective. So the key results are always the outcome, so to speak.
Okay, and so ultimately it's a goal setting framework that companies can choose to use.
Absolutely, yeah. So you have other types of goal setting frameworks like SMART or there's so many out there, and OKR is something that is a little bit more new and also very simple, and that's also the advantage of it, I would say.
I like that you touched on SMART goals already. Would you be able to explain a little bit the difference for you between SMART goals versus OKRs?
Yeah, so SMART goals, I really like them. I actually still use them. They're specific, measurable, as we all know. OKRs are really more ambitious goals. So they really will make you get out of your comfort zone. And especially because of that, they're very interesting to use in environments where there's a lot of innovation, where you constantly need to adjust in the market.
Yeah, innovation's a great example, because actually there's, especially in the tech space, innovation happens so fast. So, and for me personally, I think one of the benefits to OKRs is that alignment to keep going at the level of innovation that companies do. So what about you, from your point of view, what are some of the benefits of actually using OKRs as a goal setting framework?
Yeah, I think the key benefit is that it really provides a lot of focus for companies. So I know we probably all work in places where you have a gazillion things to do, and OKRs really create those one or two priorities that you want to work on. And it doesn't matter also whether companies are remote or whether they work together. It really keeps you on track, it keeps you on point, and it makes sure that you don't get distracted that much. Mm-hmm. Another benefit is that OKRs are always publicly available to employees. So at every level in the company, employees can see them and keep track of them. So that also creates a lot of opportunities for collaboration and alignment.
Yeah, visibility for me is a really great point that you make, because I think having focus ties really closely with that visibility, because even if you set OKRs and nobody knows what they are, they'll never get achieved at all. So for you, do you have specific ways that you get people excited and bring that visibility to the forefront at like every level of the organization? So C-suite, department level, and team level. Is there something that you do to really create that?
Yeah, I always try to introduce OKRs in a way that it's not like a huge process. So I always make sure that people understand we can start small and it's going to be a journey. It's not going to be done in 2 weeks. This is going to take maybe 1, 2, sometimes 3 quarters for a big company. Mm-hmm. And what I always do in the beginning is make people enthusiastic about OKRs by first using them in their personal life. So it doesn't matter whether it's C-level people or whether it's employees. You can start using them in your personal life. You can think about what you really want to kind of achieve in the next quarter. Maybe you want to learn French, or maybe you want to travel more. Employees get excited about these things, and leadership too. So people in the company start talking more. And because it's very useful to use them in your personal life, people will see progress quickly. And that is the moment where they think, if this is so cool in my personal life, then this will probably also even help in the business. And I also know that setting personal OKRs is a little bit more difficult than business OKRs. So once you get the hang of that, you're pretty much ready to go.
That's a great way of getting people to think about it, because it is quite a scary shift to start using a new framework if you've never used it before. So making it personal to yourself really helps. I think that's a great, for those watching, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
In your experience of working with tech companies, how do you go about selecting OKRs in the first place to use that as a goal setting framework within the organization?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is always very important is that the company actually wants to use OKRs, because I often also get approached and they're a bit like, oh, there's a lot of goal setting frameworks out there. We're just going to go with OKRs because we heard they're cool. Google uses them and Facebook, and we want to be cool like them, so let's use them. I think it's important that everyone in the company is aligned, especially C-level, on where do we want to go. We want to innovate, we want to create more focus and transparency, we want to create more engagement with our people, because we want everyone in the business to understand kind of how they contribute to the bigger purpose of the company, and OKRs is the great way to do that. I think once companies have answered all those questions as yes, then I think it's a good way to start. But of course, there might be very small companies that choose not to, because they think it's not for them. They want to, for example, work with SMART goals first. That's also fine. I would say experiment a bit with different models, reflect on them, and then see what works for you.
Yeah, that's great. Also, it's easy to go after the I want to be the Google and I want to be the Facebook.
Yeah.
In reality, most organizations don't always function that way. So totally agree with you. Find the right framework that suits your company needs. And you touched upon a little bit already about getting buy-in from the C-suite and having that C-suite really knowing that that's the direction you want to go in as a business. Is there something as an HR leader that you can do to really get that buy-in at the C-suite level, and how important is it to have that?
Yeah, I think it's very important to have that buy-in, because I have seen a lot of companies also where there wasn't that buy-in, and they've had to implement OKRs a couple of times, because each time there was a little bit more buy-in, and finally when the implementation was successful, everyone was kind of on the same page, including HR. But yeah, it's definitely important, because everyone in the company, of course, wants to start using them, and also the OKRs of employees will be aligned with the ones from leadership. So it's very important that everyone believes in it, because otherwise, you're kind of just fooling your employees in a way with a model that is not very useful, and also there won't be the accountability, right, from the leadership level. So.
And do you have any initiatives that you've done yourself to really drive that, to get that buy-in at all levels, and particularly in the C-suite, or is it that you should just start and kind of build it out in phases so that you can show the value as you go? Or is there, what's your suggestion?
Yeah, I think it's important to do it indeed in phases, step by step. That already helps a lot with buy-in. And I think one other thing that helps a lot with buy-in is to have one or two people in the leadership team and also in the company who know a little bit more about OKRs. So you can call them maybe OKR ambassadors or something. And they will kind of keep them alive, and they will make sure that people actually follow the guidelines and follow the processes. But having those people, especially at C-level, is very, very important.
Yeah, I like the term of ambassadors. That's a great, we sometimes call them champions as well.
Champions is also, it's also a good name.
Very important to get adoption, for sure. In terms of the quality of setting OKRs, have you got experience in how to identify what the right way to set an OKR is?
Yeah, so I think usually people don't have a lot of challenges with the objective part of the OKR, because it's just a goal, something inspirational, something that gets you excited. I think the difficult part is the key result, because a lot of people will start putting kind of task lists in the key results, so more outputs instead of outcomes. And just doing a lot of things is maybe nice, but it doesn't guarantee you a certain result, right? So I think really trying to get yourself from that tasky mindset into the results-oriented mindset, that is something that requires a lot of just some exercise around it, right?
Yeah, that's a really hard mind shift. Actually, we ourselves have experienced that, especially in rolling out this new feature.
Yeah.
How do you actually measure that? How do you track that you're achieving what you set out to achieve? Is there any ways that companies can really bring that to life in terms of their mindset shift? How do you get people to change that way of thinking?
Yeah. I think what I've seen is that the most difficult part there is a lot of companies don't have measurements in place. So they don't really know exactly what a result looks like or how to track it. So I would also say if a company starts working with OKRs, it's very beneficial to also look into KPIs first and make sure you have those set up properly so that you can integrate those in your OKRs.
Right. That's a good one, I think. Not just starting from kind of thin air, making sure that you've done a lot of groundwork first before you go into that.
Definitely, yeah.
And in terms of how many OKRs are set and what is a realistic number of OKRs to do as a company, what would you suggest in that section?
Yeah, well, I'm a bit of an OKR minimalist because I really believe in that laser focus that we talked about before. So I would say if you have like maybe 1 or 2 OKRs with each 1 or 2 key results, you're pretty good. Now I know most companies want to do a lot more than that, but it's also good to remember that not everything you do has to be in your OKRs. Your OKRs are your main focus, but there might still be business as usual things going on as well.
Yes, of course. And it would be silly to disregard all those business as usual things that you were saying. That is, it's always going to come up. So keep that in mind when you go setting your OKRs.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then a couple more questions, and I will wrap it up. But as an HR leader in an organization, what is your advice to someone beginning the journey of OKRs and wanting to start this in their organization for the first time?
Yeah, I would say that it's important to do some pre-work, so to really read up on it, and also to be gentle, because again, OKRs is a process, just like any company who wants to become agile and they're going through an agile transformation. It's not something that happens overnight. So I think a very gentle approach, and also knowing that you probably will make mistakes. I have yet to see a company that doesn't make mistakes with OKRs. I think that is extremely important, and especially from the HR side.
And to those who maybe are slightly small organizations or a bit junior in their experience, how would you suggest going from maybe an Excel spreadsheet where you've started the groundwork to moving through a bit more mature business growth?
Yeah, I would say if you're still a small company, you can just start using OKRs maybe first at C-level, and then indeed keep track of them in maybe something like an Excel sheet. You don't need to have a very big tool for it, but I would say once more teams start using it and you start to become more mature in using OKRs, it's definitely a good idea to then start looking into the tool, like one that Impraise is offering, or there's other tools out there. But yeah, I think it's important to start small, but then also really become a little bit more professional once you become more into the OKR journey.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. It's not, you don't have to start big or straight away. You can
start small. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, nice. And then the last question I have is, what did you wish you knew before you started working with OKRs that you now know with your expertise of working with OKRs?
Ooh, so many things. I think the biggest one is that you shouldn't be a perfectionist when you want to do this. I think really learning is part of the journey. I know there's OKR books that say like the OKR Bible, you have to do it like this, but it really depends on the company size and on the people and the buy-in. So every company has their own OKR flavor, and for some companies it will go really quickly, and for some it will take maybe 2 quarters to get the hang of it. So be patient, keep going. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? OKRs aren't implemented in a day. So yeah, just be patient.
Awesome, thank you. I think there was a lot of information in there that HR buyers and directors can use. So I'm going to end it there, but thank you, Mel, for your time. And of course, anybody who's interested, we do have Mel's contact details, as she is an expert. We would love to put you in contact if you need some help. But that's all for now, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.